It's streaming.
Is it working?
Yeah, it says to me it's streaming on my end.
Ours says setting up meeting.
Perfect.
What's up, Patriots?
What's going on, Patriots, Nods, and Digital Soldiers?
This is Kerry.
And this is Joel.
And we are the Quiet Boys
of Truth.
Coming at you live today. Oh, we have a lag.
Yes, we do.
Awesome. This is our first live stream attempt, guys. Things are going to go wrong.
Gotta love it, though.
Serial number 1 is always expensive and full of bugs.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Modern technology. It's the wave of the future.
All right. So this is pretty exciting. Why is it so exciting today, Joel?
Well, this is exciting because we have with us a very special guest. A lot of you might know. His name on Twitter is Beer at the Parade.
Welcome.
Who doesn't love a beer at the parade?
You got to be crazy not to.
Who doesn't love a beer all the time?
Absolutely.
Might be this guy.
And this might be Irish coffee.
Well, that'll make serial number 1 a lot smoother, at least for the 3 of us.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself, Beer? Give yourself a little bit of an introduction.
Sure. Well, my name's Scott, and I got involved with Q really early on, November 2nd of 17. I just kind of accidentally fell into it because of a YouTube video somebody did. And they said there's links down below, and I clicked one of the links and made it to 4chan and had no clue what it was. All I knew is it was a message board, and there were some really interesting conversations. So I started reading the conversations and started interacting with the other Anons, and got, quite frankly, addicted to this thing, and haven't looked back since. Man, if I had paid myself $1 an hour, I'd be retiring.
No,
but I don't regret a second of it. It's just been wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I bet you've met a lot of really great Patriots out there too.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the understatement of the century. Just people of all personalities, interests, levels of intelligence, special skills that they bring to the movement and the cause, and the most non-judgmental, caring, loving people you'd ever meet in your life. It's just been fantastic. It's like getting a second family, except this time we all get along, and we all speak the same language.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And before we go much further, I'd like to share an example of how tight the Q community is and how loving and generous the Anons are. Is we got some really shocking bad news about a guy named Mike Bravo, who is a really good close Anon with a group that I'm in. And he's a young man. He's about 37, 38. And he was just diagnosed with leukemia, and he's got a wife and 2 small children.
Oh, man.
And we only got the word less than 72 hours ago. So we contacted his wife, set up a GoFundMe account. And to tell you how great the community is, we're about to go over $100,000 in donations in less than 72 hours. And that's just
awesome.
It's
Very
staggering,
cool.
isn't it?
That is
So cool.
amazing.
And the sad part is that Mike was in service to his country. We're pretty sure was exposed to fire pits in Afghanistan, and that's probably more than likely what has led to his illness. So he making a huge sacrifice for our country and our flag. So when it came time for me to decide how much my wife and I would want to donate for his family and his bills, I thought, what would be an easy sacrifice for us? So our thing is we like to go out for dinner and drinks one night a week. That's our date night.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what if I just did the math in my head about how much do we spend with tip and tax and all that. And I said, we can go a month without going out to dinner. So whatever that would have been, I just took that money and then I just sent that in, figuring that's not much of a sacrifice compared to what they're going through. And if you'd be so kind, make sure you put a link below this so that people
Definitely.
can.
Yeah, we absolutely will.
I mean, even if it's just $5 or something, I mean, there's so many of us that it does add up. So anything would be, I'm sure, greatly appreciated. And thank you.
Yes, absolutely. We would be very
we'll
happy
definitely
to
leave that link down below, guys.
Yeah, you can check it out. So some of the other stuff, we wanted to talk about is like your experience being on the board, because we know you go way back, you know, way on back.
So some of our listeners might not even really know what 4chan is, especially if they're new to Q, and so they might really not know what you're talking about. So can you just give them a little breakdown of what 4chan is? And
Yeah. So think of it as a public message board where you can post, type, drop videos, drop images, and it's complete free speech. There is zero censoring. And so they're always known as the Chans. Hey, Gracie, would you get that little birdie squawking in my window there? That's a lot of noise for a little wren. Go ahead, trying to find a mate. Anyways, so these message boards exist, and the first one where Q appeared was called 4chan, and eventually that was taken down and replaced with, I guess, a more modern one called 8chan, C-H-A-N. And then that went down for 4 months while Code Monkey and his dad were rebuilding a new one, which is now on 8kun, K-U-N.
Yeah.
So I believe it's 8kun.top is the URL, but anybody can just DM me or ask, or I'll do a thread on it, show people where to go. I will give you a word of caution because it's truly free speech. There's a lot of people on there that we called shills that are trying to ruin this movement, and they will post all sorts of hideous things there that nobody has any business seeing. And it's way beyond just, you know, naked people doing things with each other. Some of it's really disgusting, and it's kind of hard to get past as you're looking for Q drops and decodes and all the good stuff that's actually in there.
Yeah, just kind of sift through the mud and the muck
Oh,
to find the diamond.
Yeah, but this is worse than
there is some stuff you really
I've actually never been on there. So.
Good. And so, you know, you don't need to anymore, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah, because we have things like qmap.pub and other places we can go.
And you've got all the anons on Twitter. There's some brilliant digging going on Twitter.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Twitter is the place.
Some of these guys on Twitter are just
it really has caught up to the digging, the level of digging that goes on the chans and the boards now. And you don't have all of the division and all the distractions because, you know, we're all working more as a team on here. And a lot of little mini hives have been created on Twitter where we invite certain people into our little rooms because they have certain skill sets. So, you know, you get, people that are good at the law, people good at constitution, people who are good at history, geography, understanding of military operations, military intelligence. Some are just great at decoding and making connections. So you can actually build a team of experts and it accelerates your digging. And I mean, we had that experience a few days ago of us, dropping onto an idea and all of us digging into it at the same time together. And it led to some really quick, spectacular aha moments.
Definitely. And it was really fun.
That moved like that,
Yeah, we're talking, 10 minutes?
Yeah, it was fast. It was amazing how quick it happened.
People were just coming up with stuff left and right, man. That was awesome. Very cool.
I mean, you guys started at like this entrance to the maze. And so here we are, digging together, and the three of us, and then you're searching on the internet. I'm on this internet, but I was also on Twitter in this room I am with all these supposed experts, not me. They're the smart ones. I'm just there to shine everybody's shoes and detail their cars. But so I started dropping things and they started dropping things. Hey, this ties to this, or have you thought about looking at it this way? And we all started piling on this idea. And, so I went zooming this direction and you guys went zooming that direction. Somebody went going another direction. And I went off things. Somehow the name Ashcroft came up. I had heard that name in probably a year and a half.
Yeah, because I remember sitting there watching you and the light bulb I saw it clicking. And went, wait a minute.
And I had forgotten he was the Attorney General. I just remembered General Ashcroft. I'm like, I know this name. How do I know him in what context? And then my light bulb went on. I go, was he the guy that Comey and Mueller went to his defense at the last minute while he was on his deathbed and protected him from George W. Bush's minions at the White House? And I very quickly typed in, Ashcroft, Comey, Mueller, and that LA Times article popped right up and I started reading it. My jaw was dropping.
Right. And so do we want to show that article? Because I think it's going to kind of blow people's minds, people that don't know anything about that.
Make sure you put a link to it below, please. Okay. When we're done, put a link to that article because it changed the whole narrative of how we looked at Comey and Mueller.
Oh, it absolutely
Mhm.
did. And that was really crazy too, you know,
Those
because
two guys rode in like on white horses on Ashcroft's deathbed and defended
Mhm.
him and his wife while he was getting strong armed by Bush's administration to sign a document that would have taken away almost all of our rights as Americans against the newly weaponized three-letter agencies. It was going to put the Patriot Act on steroids.
yeah,
And not only did they ride in and told Ashcroft, don't sign this,
Mhm.
they both were going to resign
yeah,
if he was forced to sign it. Now think about that.
they were going to straight
Wow.
walk.
Mhm.
And when I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that changes everything. And it changed the way I looked at Comey and Mueller, and it made it clear to me that they were probably acting as white hats, or at least doing the right things as much as they could all the way through this thing. And then if that being said, we're probably watching the greatest sting in the history of the world.
And that's pretty mind blowing to actually
Yeah.
come to that realization.
That's
you know,
very hard to believe after what's been taking place for the
Yeah.
last 3 years. You know,
I
it's
know.
so hard to believe about those two.
And then I dropped the thread on this, on us digging together and ultimately leading to that article. And I got a DM from some really interesting dude out of New York.
Mhm.
And he goes, tell me how you found that article. This is really important. And so I DM'd him back. I go, well, why is it that important? Because I don't know who this dude is.
Right.
And he goes, I've spent years digging into all of those people, all of them.
Yep.
And I'm like, send me everything you've written. He goes, no, let's talk. So he calls me that evening, and my wife and I had him on speakerphone for 3 hours. We sat there with our jaw hanging at how much this guy knows. And we don't know who this guy is. We just used his Twitter name because he wanted to be anonymous. This guy has gone all way farther down the rabbit hole than those of us on Twitter. And he goes, I can't believe you found that article. He goes, I was talking about that 4 years ago and nobody was listening.
Wow.
And so, and I asked him, I said, are these guys all white hats? He goes, I hate white hat, black hat. But let me just say this. A lot of people that people think are really bad in this show, a lot of them were just doing their jobs, and they were doing their jobs within the letter of the law. And a lot of these people, because of their stature in these three-letter agencies, they don't know the day-to-day things. There's a good likelihood Comey signed that thing and Rosenstein signed that FISA warrant just because of the intel they were given by the people who were supposed to give them the right intel.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't their job to dig into the truthfulness on all of it. They have to assume that the people on their staff are doing their jobs.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're talking about hundreds of people, hundreds, possibly thousands that you're not going to go sit and look through all of their work just to verify. You'd never get any of your job done.
Right.
No. So, and then stop and think about, who's going to read 650,000 emails on Wiener's laptop? 650,000. Do the math on that.
Yeah, that's insane. I don't want to even read my own emails sometimes.
So is there anything else you wanted to talk about? I know you were asking me about, I see right between you two, you have my avatar back there.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
We want to talk about this.
And I want to talk a little bit about how I never really had that much, after I red-pilled myself, especially on 9/11, and I realized how corrupt my government was. I kind of lost all my sense of pride in my military service when I was a young man. So I had never taken my uniform out of the closet for 35 years. I never thought about it. I've almost felt shame that I was willing to go kill other people or have a finger in that happening, which fortunately I didn't, because I believed everything the government had told me blindly. And I always thought we were the good guys and they were the bad guys.
Yeah.
But when you see the key and the lightning bolt and the torch, it's called INSCOM, the Intelligence and Security Command. And it's the Army branch of military intelligence. And so when I volunteered, I was a really small dude. I weighed like 117 pounds when I went into boot camp.
117.
Yeah, that's a good number.
yeah, exactly. But when I tested to see what kind of jobs I was allowed to pick from, I tested really high. And so I asked them, I said, what's the most challenging job for my brain and what would pay the most when I get out? And they said, oh, electronic warfare intercept system repairman or a technician. I said, well, I'll take that. Not knowing I was going to need a security clearance and all that. boy, that part wasn't fun because they sat me down and made me tell them everything I had ever done. I mean, everything.
Jeez.
And let's just say I was a spirited teenager.
Oh yeah, for real.
So anyways, I got to serve for 4 years, and I got to repair and maintain all the electronic surveillance equipment we had in the middle of the Cold War. So we were keeping tabs on the Russians, they were keeping tabs on us. And I really, really enjoyed that work. But fast forward, I got out in 1984. And then you fast forward to when I red pilled myself on 9/11. That had been around maybe 07, 08, about 6 or 7 years after.
Yeah.
And that really was difficult for me. And I do want to talk a little bit about helping others as they start waking up and how painful and the amount of cognitive dissonance they're going to go through, because I went through it. And when it hit me, how corrupt our own government was and how many people they not only killed, but they allowed their soldiers to go be killed and kill other people's, all for money and power. It messed me up for about 2 or 3 months because my operating system needed to reboot. So all my values and my beliefs were both stripped away from me in a matter of hours, and I had nothing ready to replace them.
That's
so
a hard hit.
And I feel like there are so many veterans who are feeling that same sense of complete disillusionment with everything. And so how did you get out of that?
I buried it, which my brain is good at doing. You know, with my background, I buried everything and I never talked about my job, what I learned, nothing. And that's what you're supposed to do when you have a clearance. And to this day, my family can't even tell you what my job was. They can't. I spent a year in Turkey. They couldn't find me. They had no clue where I was, no clue. But that's why it just upsets me so much when I see people like Schiff and Brennan, who are supposed to have the highest level of security, just blabbing their mouths about stuff that I would have gone to jail for life. And they're on TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
What are they doing?
But I will tell you that one night, after I had been into the Q thing for a while, I dropped something. And I knew they read it, and they gave me my sense of pride back, and my sense of duty. It's like I got back 4 years of my life that I had written off as a waste of my youth from 18 to 22, defending something that was a complete lie.
Yeah.
And now we're actually seeing all of this play out, and now I'm so grateful that I served my country for 4 years, and I gave up that time of my life, and maybe in some small way, I made a difference. And that's why when Q was talking to me and said, "For God and country, brother," I started crying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, I remember seeing that.
Can we
but
pull that up?
I didn't know it was you that had said that.
Do we have that somewhere?
I believe that we do.
That would be on that Thread Reader app link I sent you guys, I think yesterday or something.
Let's see if we
That
can
would be
find
right
it.
here.
We're still new at this, guys, so bear
It's
with
not
us.
like it's your first one. Oh wait, it is.
It
Oh, yeah.
is
It
the very
definitely
first.
is.
We're still trying to figure all this stuff out.
All right, let's pull that
We got it
up.
here somewhere.
Do you want me to DM it to you?
Oh, nope, I just got it. All
Okay.
right, let's bring this up here and we can talk about this.
Yeah, because this is really cool.
Yeah, this is really, really cool.
Yeah, so I made a thread, and again, I don't want this to be too much about me, but because I've been so interactive and I'm always trying to drop good ideas, and I work both here on Twitter and on 8kun. I just kept falling into some things where Q thought it was interesting enough and would maybe drop it. And so the first one was a picture I thought was interesting. And it was of Mike Pompeo's to-do list. And I noticed then, if you'd scroll down just a little bit, there you go. And I blew up that to-do list and I said, hey, he's missing 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Skip those on his to-do list.
Yeah.
And so my decode was 100% wrong. And Q used it as disinformation, which I thought was hysterical. So when I dropped it on 4chan, at first I thought it was POTUS's hands. And then I go, hey, maybe those are missing dates. If so, that's spoopy. So Q got you Todd Penley, who lost his account. So Todd retweets this and Q drops Todd's retweet. And everybody's going, hey, great dig. Hey, Beer, you got queued. Well, I got queued for being 100% wrong, but it was still funny.
Hey.
And then the next one was when I was on 4chan. I just happened to come home from work and I saw we were about to hit our 1 millionth anonymous drop. So I guessed about 25 ahead of time and I hit submit. And by pure luck, I hit the 1,000,000th drop, which will kind of be fun. That'll kind of live in 4chan.
Yeah.
That'll live in 4chan infamy forever. And then the next one was kind of fun too, because there's a bunch of us that we all coordinate behind the scenes on Twitter. And we decided we wanted to start this In It Together and see if we could get it trending.
Mm-hmm.
And you did.
You sure did.
Yeah. And we just wanted to see if we could, create more of a sense of unity and cohesion.
Mm-hmm.
And so after we dropped one, I'm just out of curiosity, I Googled hashtag In It Together. And my God, my tweet was the #1 hit on all of Google. And I'm like, holy crap.
Whoa.
And then there's Enoch and X22 report. All 3 of us were the first 3 hits. I'm like, now that is outstanding.
That is really awesome.
That is cool.
Because I remember we had that banner on our Twitter profile for a bit there.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's cool. I'm putting that up there.
The next one is just some really sweetheart of a dude out of New Zealand that just he and I created a friendship.
I love this one.
He just made this graphic and sent it over to me. He says, thought you might get a big kick out of this one. And Banner Man actually makes those giant banners like the one that he photoshopped in there. That's what he does for his company, does for a living.
Oh,
nice.
But the Statue of Liberty hoisting a massive glass of beer. I'm like, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's bigger than her.
I definitely want to go swimming in that glass.
And number 5 actually freaked me out a little bit. So one day, just for fun, I said, dear Team Q, tomorrow would be an ideal day for a little house cleaning because on 8kun, Q has their own page. And so anything they want to drop on their own page, they do. Well, they cleaned it up one time and just put all these placeholders of all the FISAs and everything that's going to be D-class would go in these folders. Well, then they took that down like a year and a half ago and started just dropping some random stuff that wasn't that interesting. So I just said, hey, tomorrow would be an ideal day for a little house cleaning. Maybe you could delete out your random drops and put back those tiny little placeholders. That'd be enough for the Anons. The next day, Q drops placeholder indictments tracking, and I go look, and they cleaned up their site and put the placeholders back up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
I remember this post, and now it makes a lot more sense. Knowing what was going on here.
I'm telling you guys, they're listening to all of us. They don't.
They absolutely are.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
My best friend in real life says, you know what the coolest part about this whole thing? He goes, we actually can talk to the president, and he listens to us.
It's an amazing back channel.
Yeah, and he listens to people. He actually cares about us.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Like, do you remember one time somebody on 4chan, it was like 2 days before Easter, and they said, hey, Q, that'd be great if you could get the president to say tip top.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that was the Easter
morning,
right?
Trump comes out on the balcony with a white rabbit.
With the rabbit, yeah.
And then he kept going, I love the White House. It's always kept so neat. We keep it in tippy top shape. I mean, tippy top.
Tippity top. Yeah, I love that.
So funny.
That was so
wow,
cool.
how cool is that?
That was.
Yeah,
Well,
and
what
it's
was
just
the
so
next
out
one?
of
Oh, the next
character
one.
the way he talks.
And that's happened quite a few times, right? Where someone's asked him.
Oh,
to say
absolutely.
something, and he does it every single time.
And Trump, way back on, I think it was on Half-Chan, Trump himself got on there and said, I'm on here more than you know. I'm never going to come back again, but I'm here. And it was Trump.
That is crazy.
I know.
Mm.
So number 6 was kind of fun. So for 2 days, all the Anons were all waiting to snipe what they called all 8s. So,
Yeah.
So I thought, well, what the heck? So I was kind of like watching to see how fast it was updating and how fast, because as this thing was nearing, everybody piled on and was trying to snipe the all 8s. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna do a little name fagging. So I'm gonna drop in my patch and let's have a beer at the parade, knowing that everybody on Twitter that knows me would get it, but nobody on 8kun would get it.
Mm-hmm.
Ding, 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 ding. I sniped that one too. That one was fun. So I got the all 8.
Awesome.
The next one, this is the one that this one really, I'll probably start crying now, is It was 10:30 on a Friday night. I'll never forget this. Q was dropping and I could see, you know, things were heading the right direction. All I said was, hey, ex-military here, Q, please don't let us down, meaning the military. We were willing to die then and we're still willing to die now. Do us proud, please. And within 2 minutes, they came right back and replied and clicked my link and said, for God and country, brother. And man, that hit me in my feels.
Oh yeah.
This one get me all teary-eyed again.
I remember
Every time,
I
man.
remember seeing this too. I had no idea that that was you that had done that.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the best moments of my life. That was amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
The next one was just me having fun with Q. They had been radio silent for like 2 weeks. So I just did a little seance. I go, no, summoning Q. And then I dropped it and I says, hey, I'm going to go out for a walk with my wife. So probably while I'm gone, they'll probably just come back and drop. And what was it? Like 27 minutes later, here comes Q right back. And I thought how clever they mirrored my minutes too.
They did, yeah. 12:14 to 12:41.
Yep.
That one was kind of fun. And then the next one was Q actually dropped our meme, and it was kind of a salute to the group of people who had worked so hard to try to, you know, get that pushed out into the world and create that unity among the movement. And then the last one was I just did and I didn't even do a video that everybody else was doing of the where we go one, we go all.
Right.
I was just here on a Saturday afternoon, probably got a couple beers in me, and I just said, you know what? Nobody has ever seen my face. They've never heard me speak. So I just did a little 30-second video, just thanking all my followers on Twitter and saying, hey, my name's Scott. God bless all of you. And thanks for, you know, playing with me when I'm in a playful mood and challenging my thoughts and theories. And I just love all of you and I appreciate all of you. And about 2 weeks later, Q just dropped it out of nowhere and I couldn't believe it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, because we did put this in one of our compilations too, you know. And it was like when I saw this video, when I was making this compilation, I was like, man, it hit me in the feels. I was like, oh.
If I'd known that, I'd have been wearing a better hoodie and probably put my makeup on. But
by the way, the link for that is in the description also, guys. So you can go watch that little compilation.
Well, trust me, after suffering through a half hour of this, they're not going to see another 33 seconds.
Yes, they are. They're going to go. They're going to go check it out.
You could probably do a stop screen share now there, Joel, and get us back to our chat. So is there anything else that you would like to talk a little bit about?
Well,
did you guys want to touch on anything that was dug up when we were talking about Mercer? Because that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would put this pretty much on you guys, and I'll chip in when I can. But I mean, that happened so fast.
Yeah. So I think the first thing Joel noticed was the pen, right?
Yes.
So the pen, because
that
this time you said note the pen instead of follow the pen.
Right. Well, don't forget where it was. It was in Catherine Herridge's.
Catherine Herridge, yeah.
You referenced, and in the picture, she had the pen laying on her notes. And old Eagle Eye Joel over here zooms in and looks on the pen, and there's their little corporate logo of Mercer.
Right. So the first thing you said was, "Hey, isn't that Pompeo's dog's name, Mercer?"
But we also had looked it up before, and it said that Mercer was an old world mercantile.
Yeah. Well, Mercer also happens to mean trafficking.
Well, yeah, one of the synonyms.
Somebody
Somebody dropped in the thread that you put out there that, hey, check out the synonyms of Mercer, and one of them is trafficker.
So I'm going to interject here, but one of the attributes of great diggers is when we're faced with something new, you know, we look at it on all sides of it like it's a cube, okay?
Right.
And we don't look at it just one way. So immediately my brain starts saying it could be a person, it could be somebody from way in the past, it could be a place, could be a name of a company.
All of those things too, multiple things.
And what would it mean if you interpret it like in French? Because it sounds French almost. Almost like merci or Mercer. So I mean, you start thinking about all the possibilities. And then you just got to dig through all the rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Right. And so some of the things that we did find, so we went to that actual company that the logo is showing, that Mercer's website. And this is some type of actuary insurance business. And this industry is a $500 billion industry.
It's big.
And these guys work with every company you can think of. They are affiliated.
You remember we were scrolling on their homepage and the wording just seemed off on, remember that? There's just a couple things on there and I'm like,
yeah, something's definitely off with these guys.
Something like adapting to the new normal or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that.
They kept pushing the new normal.
Yeah.
A lot of global themes on there. Can you pull up that list, Joel, of all of their affiliates? I just found this so interesting last night. I was looking into this a little bit more.
And while you're pulling that up, I will say in real life, you know, for my 30-year career, I've been running a company where we do graphic design, web development, copywriting, positioning, branding, all the business to business marketing things. And as soon as I started reading their copy, I knew something's off here.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they've hired a company of that size, a gargantuan ad agency where every word will be wordsmithed. And there were some things on there that I said to myself, those don't really belong here. Something's not adding up.
Exactly. So can everybody see that?
Here, I can show it. So these are, we'll just run through this real quick.
Okay. You have to share screen again.
Yep. So this is what we got here. The industry affiliation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few that really jump out at.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. You can see how many people or
Look
companies.
At all these companies, guys. Apple, Amazon.
There was a really interesting one, and we will link this. We'll link this in the description
Bank of
for
America,
you guys to go check out.
Of course.
But
I just saw Boeing.
Wait, you skipped Bill and Melinda Gates. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is on here.
They're right next to Boeing.
Yep, let's go up there. Boom.
I just saw Citigroup.
Yep, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, right there.
Right here.
Bloomberg.
Right below them, Bloomberg.
Hey, check this out.
Boeing. Oh, Bayer.
This would be an interesting one to find.
You skipped Facebook.
I did.
Facebook's on there.
But I really want to see.
We can just say it.
Oh, look, there we go. Soros Fund Management.
Huh.
Oh, what do you know? That is very interesting indeed.
Can you imagine the amount of money laundering that's probably going on here?
Oh my gosh.
See, that's what we're wondering too, you know, like with all of this stuff, like how, you know, it's gotta be some sort of laundering, something shady's going on, you know, they're representing some really heavy hitters.
Well, so guys, if we think about, so everything that I found on Mercer, no matter if it was Mercer University or something that happened in Mercer or a Mercer restaurant, every single thing was about trafficking. Every single thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
People can digest that however they want.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we've got a lot of links to throw in there.
Yeah, we'll definitely throw all those links so you guys can see every single thing we pulled up about trafficking.
My good friend Bird Notice one time, Bird Notice actually made a game of digging that really does make it fun. So some night, if you guys ever want to, we'll hop on together and you go to QMap and you turn off POTUS's tweet. So it's just the Q drops and pick a word you think is interesting. Search for that word and then dig on the threads that it hits.
Oh, yeah.
All right. That sounds fun.
You'd be surprised not only what you can find, but what you remembered that you had forgotten you remembered. But then so a lot of times they actually tie together. And
that's
you can
really
pick
crazy. Yeah. Man, that guy's he's a smart cookie too.
I hope someday you guys get a chance to interview somebody like a Burn Notice because
absolutely.
That would be awesome.
That would be a good time.
Not only insanely smart, but at a spiritual level.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I DM'd him when I had first opened my Twitter account because I loved what he was dropping. And all I said was, could we please speak in real life someday? Because I think you're going to help me through the ascension process, which is the great awakening of mass spiritual ascension.
Yeah.
And he said, what an interesting message you just sent me. He goes, absolutely. I want to talk with you. And we have become really good friends and just such a great human being this guy is.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, if you interview him, let him do a full show just on ascension and the egregore and the experiment that him and a couple of his friends did for an entire year on meditation and ascension and the book that they wrote on it. He's an interesting unit, that guy.
Oh, yeah. You know,
we'd love to have him on our show.
Got to talk to him for just a minute there. And man, some of the stuff he was just bringing to light was absolutely mind blowing. Like it really was.
Oh, we lost you.
No, I'm
Who else
here.
just got?
I'm
Oh,
here.
no.
Oh,
He's there.
There we go.
He's there.
If you look closely in the lower right of my screen, we can see my wife's foot going up and down.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
That's my wife is Patty, and I think we're going to do a show. Oh, Kerry, this is new to you, but Joel and I already made a decision.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
We'd already had a meeting of the minds.
Okay, so we're going to do another show down the road where I want Patty sitting next to me, and we want to talk about what this Q movement has done for couples,
Mhm.
and how, if one believes and one doesn't, how difficult it is to
That,
be
yeah, that
unevenly
can
yoked.
get difficult.
But when both of them are in sync, and she digs her way during the day and I dig my way during the day, and then she comes back into my office, we call it the honey, what do we call it? The something room.
The situation room.
Situation room.
Yeah.
So we get together, we compare notes and what we've learned and put everything
Mhm.
together, and it really makes for a nice evening. So
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've spent many a night doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Right, Joel?
Yes, we have. Our situation room is all over the place. So
Right.
it could
Yeah.
be anywhere.
Just random,
anywhere
wherever
in
we
the
are.
So I don't know how we're doing for time, but if there's, nothing really big that we
Mhm.
didn't touch upon, or that, you'd want me to share, we could tap out here, or I've got nothing.
Oh, I think we did have a question, right? That
Did we?
you wanted to ask Scott about?
Oh, yeah. So yesterday, the president said something kind of interesting that a lot of our friends have been a little bit confused by. So yesterday, well, he said a couple things, right? Yeah. The first one was about
Yeah.
wearing a mask is patriotic. So could
That was
you maybe
brilliant.
touch on that a little bit, Scott?
I got to admit, it took me about an hour to try to turn that cube around and find the side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But what he's saying is that, so for all the libtards who hate the president and think that they can run around wearing a mask and destroy things, he's now saying,
Antifa.
hey, you're patriots. The other thing that it did was, if Trump is saying masks work, there goes mail-in voting. All we
Yep.
have to do is wear a mask and go vote.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
He
Good
just
point.
destroyed the Democrats' last hope of stealing the election by putting on a mask and going, this is patriotic.
And
Bye-bye,
vote
Felicia.
Back on.
Yeah.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
Now you watch it.
work now.
And since
And then-
everybody goes the opposite way because they hate him so much, now the mainstream media is going to start talking about how masks are unnecessary. And they're going to be like,
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. So we can vote then. All right, awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always go opposite of whatever
Yeah.
Trump
But you
says.
have
so-
to think boomerang, because that's what they do
Yeah.
every
Yep.
single time. And at first you're sitting there going, oh no, why did he say that? Why did they do that? This looks really bad. But if you
Yeah.
wait a few days to a week, you're like, oh, that was genius.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, see, we have some friends that are kind of on the fence about Trump. And so when he says that and they don't understand and they're like, they come to us and they're like,
Yeah.
explain this. Why
Right.
would he
It's-
say?
It's literal 5D chess.
The other thing
It's
yesterday that he
just
said
amazing.
was about Ghislaine Maxwell. And he said, I wish her well. And
Yeah.
what do you
It's
think
almost-
that means when he's wishing her well?
Bon voyage.
Bon voyage. Yeah.
Enjoy your trip.
Yeah.
Here's your one-way ticket to Gitmo.
Yeah. That's kind of where my
That's
mind went
what I
too.
think too, for sure.
And then in one of my rooms, somebody dropped that and we started digging. Man, this list started popping up of all these bad Oreos that
Mhm.
he's either tweeted it or said it to. And there wasn't a good apple in that bunch. So when he says it to you, I think it's literally the kiss of death.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The other thing too, though, is when somebody asks us something we really don't know and it is confusing, that's your chance to start a red pilling process. And a good answer is, I don't know.
I don't know.
Can you
Yeah.
help me dig a little bit and get
Mhm.
them involved in finding the answer? And sometimes I'll do that even if I know the answer, because I want to make them curious.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
and maybe you can put a link at the underneath this on the red pilling guide that I wrote.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The Socratic
But-
method of red
but
pilling.
Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
very good read right there.
But for everybody listening who has a lot of family and friends who are still sleeping,
Yeah.
my advice
do.
to you is don't try to red pill. Just stop speaking at this part of the movie, because everything's about to roll out. And I'm talking
Yes.
a tsunami of evidence, not a tidal wave. Big difference.
Right.
A tidal wave means they release it all at once and it's a 100-foot wave. It crashes and it's done. this thing will never stop coming out. So a tsunami is 3 feet high with a push behind it that never stops coming inland. It floods everything. That's going to be the release of all the indictments, the perp walks, video testimonials of people who sang like birds, probably some transcripts from trials where they admitted everything. It's all going to come out. We've got the the texts. We've intercepted phone calls, everything. We've intercepted the Google Docs that they thought they were going to use to try to communicate. We've got all of it. So as this starts rolling out, red pilling will be automatic. So as you see the tide turn, so will everyone else. And they're going to start asking us questions. Hey, weren't you talking about that a few years ago? And be like, yeah, but I'm going to play dumb and say, well, here's what little I've learned. Will you help me learn a little bit more? And then make it easy to start connecting the dots. Because it'll be so easy to start connecting Brennan to somebody like Schiff and somebody like Schiff and Pelosi and tie them to El Chapo.
Yeah.
And then so you can start connecting things with people, but get them involved. Let them be the expert and let them wake themselves up. So our only job between now and when the evidence starts coming out is to work on ourselves.
Yeah.
And for me, I've been practicing being really patient and soft and helpful when people ask me questions. And even if I know the answer, I just very gently ask them questions and help them discover things on their own. So I always think, how would I want to be treated if I was trying to learn something and I was either confused or I was, even worse, completely wrong?
Yeah. Well, just to say, you've definitely been a big help and inspiration for us,
Definitely.
like big time. Some of the stuff that's been brought to light while talking to you is just, it's literally, it changes your concept of things, but not in like a rude awakening way. You're just like, oh, okay. It's very gentle, because the way, that you're bringing it to people is you get them engaged in thinking about it.
Right. And not making people feel stupid because,
Yes.
that sucks.
That was actually how I, by accident, built my Twitter following, was that I would go find the interesting things on 4chan. And I would say, now this is interesting or notable. And I would then just post it on Twitter, but I wouldn't say much about it other than maybe ask a question. Or I'd say, here's a theory. What do you all think? And I would let everybody weigh in with their closing the loop, so to speak. So I would never close the loop. I would leave it half open and I'd let people be the experts. So I always say, I was called the Kitchan, Kitchan. Here comes something hot from the kitchen, meaning the Chan. And so it was like I had a half-baked lasagna and I'd put it on the table and I'd go, here, finish baking this. So I let everybody be the expert and play the game, so to speak. And people really love that. And so that's how people would tell other people, beer's a pretty good follow. And they just told each other, and not knowing anything about Twitter, I wound up getting a lot of followers in pretty short order just by helping people learn.
Yeah, and that's a great way to go about it. I think at first when we started following Q, I think we were way too excited about everything. And so we just wanted to go out and tell everybody like, oh my God, look at what this is happening. And people were just like, what the hell are you talking about?
You guys have lost your marbles.
You've lost it.
I think we've all been guilty of that. And so for any of the new Q followers, best advice I can give is say as little as possible, because it's about to be done for you.
Right.
And the worst thing you can do is to try to get so excited. It's like the Amway salesperson, joins a multi-level marketing thing, and they're just constantly talking about it. And family and friends don't even want to sit next to you at the picnic because,
yeah, they're like, it's that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay away from
they're gonna start talking about that weird shit again.
Remember, I told you guys before, I know a joke on every possible topic. Well, here's one on this topic. If you're ever on a cross-country flight and it's 4 or 5 hours and you're sitting next to a chatty Cathy who just won't shut up, here's how to get him to shut up. Ask them what they do for a living. And when they tell you, wait for them to ask you what you do for a living and say, I'm an insurance salesman and a born-again Christian. You got a minute? Crickets for the next 4 hours. All of a sudden they got their nose in a book again.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
And I think it is actually true. He does have a joke on every subject.
Yes, this is very true.
imaginable.
This is very true.
Just having hung out a few times in the last week.
Scott has some amazing zingers to throw
Oh
out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
I'm like a human joke box.
Funny
You know,
guy.
put a quarter in me, pick a topic, and here comes a joke.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to monetize my sense of humor or anything like that, but if I may, I want to close by begging people to please, find a couple of dollars you can send to Mike Bravo and his family. And
Yes.
Yeah.
and when you get that link, would you please tweet it out and retweet it out and ask your friends to please dig a little bit into their money, into their wallet. And then also the most important thing is to not only retweet that, but if you could just take a moment, I'm sure there'll be a link. I believe it's at Mike Bravo Dude, I'm pretty sure. But would you please send him a kind word of encouragement and a prayer and just let him know you're thinking about him and his wife and his kids and that you
Right.
love
Yeah,
him
that's
and
so
you're
powerful.
expecting a full recovery and a long life, because our prayers and a little word of encouragement can do just as much as whatever the doctors are trying to do. So if y'all would
Definitely.
please do that for an American patriot named Mike, I'm sure
Mhm.
that he would appreciate it. But not only that, but you're going to feel really good about yourself after you've pitched in a little bit and did something good
Yeah.
for somebody who deserves it. So
Yes,
Definitely,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And we will leave that link down in the description so people can go check that out. And if you can, guys, it would be very, very big of you to donate.
Yeah, because we are all in this together.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Let's
Yep.
help support our fellow
help-
patriot
yeah.
guys and his
Yep.
family.
Yep.
Yep. And he and I both served in the Army, and the one we have an expression is you never ever leave a fellow soldier behind. Ever.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Where we go one, we go all in this stuff,
For sure.
These are amazing times to be alive for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, well, this was really fun, Scott.
Yeah, this was
Thank you so
amazing.
much for coming on today.
Yeah, we really appreciate that, brother. We do appreciate that.
Yeah, and I can't wait to do another show with Patty. That'll
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
really cool.
The sooner the better.
Yeah, our
Yeah.
platform is your
do
platform.
it.
So anytime you want to come back, you are more than welcome.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys giving me a chance to share a couple of my more fun things during the last 35 months. And I really have enjoyed meeting two of you personally in the time we've shared together. And I think we're just
absolutely.
getting started. We're going to have a lot of fun and learn a lot of things together.
Oh
So.
yeah,
Yes,
it's
we
like
are.
instant family, right?
So, you guys were going to give me the privilege of ending the show, weren't you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Would you please?
Would you like
Are
to
you
do
guys
that?
ready? Where we go on,
We go
go
all.
all.
Oh, love you
Thank
guys.
you.